Okay, this video is going to be for our ECoG recording. I'm going to select the ECoG protocol by clicking my protocol tab up here and scrolling down to US ECoG click, and so it populates that here for me. Just like in the others, if you haven't seen the other videos, we've got our intensity options here, our stimulus parameters here on the left as well. Once we're running, we can see how many waves are being recorded and rejected, and we can select our ear here. So we have a lot of similar features to some of the other software. With an ECoG, we are going to run it at an 8.1 Hertz. It gives you other options, but I never changed the stimulus rate on this, so I'm going to leave it at 8.1 and keep it slow. And this I also tend to run pretty high intensity at 95 dB. So we're going to go ahead and run that, and here I've got the left ear set up, and so we're going to start. Now it's giving us an indication that the stimuli level is very high. It's higher than 80. Anytime you present something higher than 80, it's going to let you know that and say, are you sure you want to continue testing? Yes, we are sure that we are wanting to continue testing with this, and so we will do that. So it's now running on my patient. On the left side here on the handle, we can see it's a 95 dB intensity. L is for left ear. And on the far right of the waveform, we're able to see that it says click is the stimulus and 8.1 clicks per second as an alternating polarity. So we're able to see that as well, which is nice. What I'm going to do with an ECoG, I'm going to click on this increase, decrease time, and I want to decrease the time as much as it will allow to 4.5 milliseconds for my epic. Sometimes I'll also increase over here how large these look. It just kind of depends on the waveform, so we'll see what we get here. So we're going to run an ECoG for a fair amount of sweeps. This one is just if it's there, and if it's not, it's not. And sometimes it can be really hard to tell. So hopefully we'll get a good ECoG in this video. Some other parameters as we're going, as we are looking at ECoG, we can look at waveform reproducibility here. We do not have our FMP graph like we would have for a neurodiagnostic ABR, but we do have our EEG here at the top to make sure everything is working well and we're not getting a lot of patient activity. I can pause if I need to. I can move on to the next intensity if I would like to as well. So I'll go ahead and set that up to be ready. We'll do 95 and right. So I'll switch ears here in just a second. And when I'm ready, we're going to click next intensity. So we'll let this run just a bit longer here. What you'll also see here in this ECoG is under the Edit tab, you're going to have a lot of different options. So we'll label some of these here in just a moment. These are different than your neurodiagnostic ABR because we're labeling different things. We're going to label our summating potential and action potential information that helps give us the information we need to do interpretation for an ECoG. All right, so we are going to... We're about to move on to the next one, see if we can get a better one on the right. This one does take a little bit of time, and a lot of times you won't get very good ECoG tracings. This one's are really hard to get pretty tracings on, so be patient if you're doing your labs or with the patient. Sometimes it just doesn't look quite as good as we would like. So I'm going to click next intensity. It says, are you sure you want to continue? Yes, we do. You'll see here that the waveform is dropping off the bottom here, and so I'm going to pull it back up to the top. So anytime we want to move it, you'll just grab the handle and adjust accordingly. Let's see if we can label something on this left one while the right one is running. I'm actually going to make the waveform look a little bit bigger, so I'm going to adjust here so I can see it a little bit more clearly. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with our baseline start. And so I like to typically do that probably a little bit higher here. I'm going to drop it a little bit lower in this case because I don't want it to be higher than this return peak here. So I'm going to drop it to about right here. So it'll go across. Again, I normally like to do it just a little bit earlier, but it kind of depends on this return peak here. And so from here, I'm going to label my SP. It's going to be the next little bump that we see on our waveform here. This one's got a nice one, and then the next one is our AP1. That returns a little bit higher, so I'm going to place it there. Sometimes these are right on top of each other, and sometimes there's a little more separation. Just kind of depends on what it looks like in this little range here. My AP peak is going to be at the very bottom lowest deflection point. This is actually your wave 1 of your ABR, but we're inverted here. So now it's going down instead of up, and this helps us get something called area under the curve. And then I've got my AP2, so we're going to label that up here like this. We'll do some talk about the analysis of this in just a moment. We're going to stop this right one and see if we can label the right one as well. I'm going to go back to edit. You can also use your shortcut keys on your keyboard. So whatever's first here is going to be your number 1. So if we're using the keyboard shortcuts, the baseline start is going to be 1 on your keyboard. So I can click that and it will let me select where I want the baseline to be here. 2, I don't really need because we already have the baseline end. It defaults based on where our baseline start value was. 3 is going to be our SP because it's the next thing. And 4 is our AP1. Then we have 5 is our AP peak, and then 6 is going to be our AP2. And so this is just how we do a basic labeling. In the next video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what these things actually are.